Hello, Jambriki here with another update for Hellmation. Now, for those of you who don't know what Hellmation is, it's kind of a blog/documentary that focuses on the making of, for my student animation, Mel and the Devil's Deal. What's it about, you may be asking? Well, an animator is suffering from pain. He's confronted by the devil and is given a bargain. He agrees to this bargain, and the consequence is that all the drawings in his studio come to life. That's pretty much the gist of it. I have a few updates to give. Think about one or two, I'm not sure. First of all, you met Dark Static in the previous video, the guy that's been helping with the music. Unfortunately, he can't commit any more to the project. He's committed he's done some brilliant little things for the beginning of the film, but he's kind of moving on to do some other stuff, working at a different studio to the one that I usually go to. And if I went to that studio, it would cost a lot more to work with him. So yeah, but I'm still keeping the music he's contributed because it's brilliant, and every time I work with him, I always get inspired musically. So yeah, that's one update. I think about the first 30 seconds has been completed, sort of. I've got to redo one of these shots, but then you've got the rest of the animating to do. I've also animated the first dialogue shot, which means that I've had the challenge of trying to sync the original voice to the mouth movement, and it's worked! Yes! Which is excellent. So yeah, I'd like to spend this episode talking about the creative influences for Mel and the Devil's Deal. Now, first of all, some of you may be thinking, wait, hang on, isn't this a bit like Evil Toons? No. Evil Toons is a bit more goofy. The way that the cartoon characters behave in that film are a bit more silly and perverted. That film's more of a kind of a horror sex comedy. Mine is a serious horror fantasy that I want to show with cartoon characters being threatening, having them being intimidating, right? Okay. So let's talk about some of the main influences. First of all, this all stems back to a seed, which is my tutor. Now, a lot of the tutors in my animation department at my university are very eccentric, ironically, considering what they work in. They're very much like cartoon characters. They're a bit wacky, got a lot of personality to them, and sometimes I've actually tried to make something based around them. And unfortunately, I never had the time. So when I came back to my university for third year, I said to my tutor, Mel, look, I've been trying to make some kind of sketches and stuff based on you guys. It didn't go anywhere. And he suggested, as a joke, why don't you have your third year animation be about? And I thought, yeah, I'll take the personality of Mel, but it's been changed around a bit, I'd have to say, because my tutor, Melvin Turner, he's Irish and a bit more out there. The character of Mel, I've created for Mel and Devil's Deal, is a bit more reserved and Canadian. So there's a big difference. But that's the thing that started to do it all off, really, I'd have to say. If I was to say what films or shorts have influenced my work for Mel and Devil's Deal, I would have to start off with Runaway Brain, which is a Disney short. Now, when I tell people about this little short, they're quite surprised that Disney actually produced it. It has Mickey Mouse being mutated into like a distorted version of himself. So one of the most believable, harmless cartoon characters is pretty much destroyed and vandalized to portray a sinister horror character, and like it's a bit unsettling when you think about it and when you watch it. It's not too scary or anything, but I can imagine showing it to like much younger people. They would be kind of freaked out about it, and I can imagine a lot of Mickey Mouse fans being like appalled by it. But yeah, it's worth seeking. It's called Runaway Brain, and it's brilliant, and that's kind of inspired me. The idea of taking something innocent and beloved and kind of mutating it into something threatening and intimidating. Another influence would have to be a scene from the film Akira, which is an 80s anime based on a very ambitious kind of graphic novel series, a manga series. And there's a scene in that film, a hallucination scene, where a character sees lots of giant toys pretty much going after him. They don't hurt him, I don't think, but they're just going after him, and they're at quite a large scale as well. And they're just kind of they're not like zombies. They're kind of like so. And I thought, that's kind of creepy, and that does follow suit with what I'm trying to go for. So like I've kept that in mind, kept that scene in mind. And then there's a running motif in the film Paprika. In Paprika, there are a series of marches throughout the film that involve a lot of colourful kind of characters, and they're all going down, and they just keep marching. And I found that kind of creepy in a sense. Before I I'd like to apologise. I think my flatmate is playing his music incredibly loud, so I'm sorry if you can hear it. I'm very sorry. So what was I talking about? Yes, so Paprika, the idea of something that keeps walking, keeps going, keeps focus, despite the march looking really colourful. There is something a bit scary about that. The idea of something marching forth and not giving up, not pausing for a break. That is kind of creepy. So yeah, those are some of the influences. Obviously, horror films in general have influenced this project because, yes, it's a horror fantasy and I want it to be scary. And for me, horror didn't really become an important part of my life until later on, because when I was a bit younger, I was quite sensitive, so I was very frightened easily. But when I started to embrace it, I obsessed over horror. Obviously, I love all kinds of genres: thriller, crime, fantasy, drama, romance. Love them all, including horror. I wouldn't pick one above the other. That's the thing. I wouldn't. I want a lot of my future projects to be a mixture of genres. I want to show that animation can embrace all the genres. So yeah, once I got into horror, I went after all the classics, I went after all the obscure things. I wanted to be frightened. I loved that adrenaline of being frightened, but at the same time, I loved what horror could offer. It has its own world, its own universe, its own intention. And as a filmmaker, one of my biggest drives is trying to reflect or mirror an emotion, a human emotion. That's what carries some of my films. I want it to be fixated on one emotion or a series of emotions that is so strong that it resonates in the audience. Say like guilt. I'd love to show characters suffering from guilt, and I'd love the audience to relate to that and to feel that. Horror is all about the emotion of fear. It's about frightening your audience and having your characters be frightened too. Okay? And you don't have to do that through hyper-violence. That's what really annoys me, that a lot of modern horror thinks, okay, we need to scare the audience. Let's make a really bloody, violent, gory death. No, that's just grossing them out. That's just grossing them out. You need to create an atmosphere. You need to really build an atmosphere, and you need imagery. You don't have to have blood be your most striking imagery. It could be a concept. It could be some kind of visual tone. It could be anything that really stands out, that you could really pick out. So, do you remember that scene from the horror film? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, those are the things that really appeal to me about horror films. And that's what's influenced me. I can mention loads and loads and loads and loads, like The Evil Dead, The Omen, The Exorcist, Bad Taste, Brain Dead. Oh, it's difficult. It's difficult to think up on the spot of like loads and loads. Rosemary's Baby. I consider Rosemary's Baby to be one of my favourite films ever, and a huge influence on Melanie Devil's Deal, considering its subject. So yeah, loads and loads of different films, horror films, have inspired me for this project. But that's all I have time for, unfortunately. I like to keep these little blogs short, but before I go, I would like to pick up on something that I will be covering soon. You see, next week will be an event called Animatador. It's going to be held at the Green Room in Sheffield. You can get tickets now, and this is a fundraiser for the exhibit for my class's animations. So if you've got the time, next Wednesday, I think it's around about 7 PM, you get tickets from the Green Room. It's in Sheffield. Go, go, go. Yeah. So yeah, and I'll be there. I'll be helping out, and but the reason I'm bringing it up is because it's going to be part of Hellmation. It's going to be one of the next episodes. I'm going to be documenting the event, so you'll be able to check out what's going on. But please turn up. Don't rely on the next episode of Hellmation. Okay. Okay. So see you guys.